Hey, good evening, everybody. I hope this finds you well. So welcome back to our IELTS training session. So today we are actually going to be talking about another component of the reading module that happens to overlap with both the general reading as well as the academic reading sectors, and that is called matching headings. Okay. So before we look at a sample example text, what exactly are matching headings? So let us say you have a reading passage that is composed of, for example, 7 to 8 paragraphs. Okay, now you read all the information in those paragraphs of the reading passage properly, and then you move on to the question statement. Now, for example, let's say the questions, there you have like 7 questions in total, and what you're given in those questions is basically headings. What you have to do is match each heading with its respective paragraph. And for example, if the heading is, for example, what do you call the plight of COVID in recent times. So you have to look through the passage and see which paragraph is actually talking about the plight of COVID in recent times. In other words, that heading, it is representing which paragraph, so you just select that option, and then you just write it down in the answer sheet based on the instructions that are stipulated and are provided to you. So without further ado, we will just take a look at a sample reading extract of matching headings and try to figure out how to get this sort of question solved. Okay, so without further ado, let us kick off. There you go. I trust everyone can see the screen well. So there you go. IELTS training reading task type 5 matching headings sample task. Questions 27 to 32. So in total, you have like 6 questions. And this whole reading text has 7 paragraphs, as you can see over here: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Okay, I'm sorry, just double G. So you have a total of 7 paragraphs that are based on the topic of robots at work. Sorry for that. Um, it's very important for us to focus on the instructions of where to write the correct number 1 to 9 in boxes 27 to 32 on your answer sheet. These are some headings that are given to us, but before we find out what the headings are, before we try to trace them with the respective paragraphs, let us quickly take a look at the passage itself. Okay, let us do a quick read through. So, robots at work. Paragraph A. The newspaper production process has come a long way from the old days when the paper was written, edited, typeset, and ultimately printed in one building, with the journalists working on the upper floors and the printing presses going on the ground floor. These days, the editor, sub-editors, and journalists who put the paper together are likely to find themselves in a totally different building or maybe even in a different city. This is the situation which now prevails in Sydney. What's the meaning of prevails? This is the current situation. At the moment, this is happening in Sydney. The daily paper is compiled as an amalgamated at the editorial headquarters, known as the pre-press center, in the heart of the city, that's in the center, but printed far away in the suburbs at the printing center. All right, so what are suburbs? Countryside. Just talking about a split location when it comes to newspaper production. One thing is being done in the center of the city, where the other is being done at the outskirts of the city, or as we were to say, suburbs or countryside. Here, human beings are in the minority, as much of the work is done by automated machines controlled by computers. All right. That is paragraph A for us. Moving on to the next one, paragraph B. Once the finished newspaper has been created for the next morning's edition, all the pages are transmitted electronically from the pre-press center to the printing center. The system of transmission is an update on the sophisticated page facsimile system already in use on many of the newspapers. An image setter at the printing center delivers the pages as film. Each page takes less than a minute to produce. Although for color pages, 4 versions, once each for black, cyan, magenta, and yellow are sent. The pages are then processed into photographic negatives, and the film is used to produce aluminum printing plates ready for the process. Moving on to paragraph C. A procession that is a collection of automated vehicles is busy at the new printing center where the Sydney Morning Herald is printed each day. With lights flashing and warning horns honking, the robots, to give them the correct name, the LGVs or laser guided vehicles, look for all the world like enthusiastic machines from a science fiction movie, as they follow their own random paths around the plant, busily getting on with their jobs. Automation of this kind is now standard in all modern newspaper plants. The robots can detect unauthorized personnel and alert security staff immediately if they find an intruder. Not surprisingly, tall tales are already being told about the machines starting to take on personalities of their own. Paragraph D. The robot's principal job, that is the robot's main job, however, is to shift the newsprint. Always make sure that you pause after the commas, the dots, the full stops, the punctuations, okay? The robot's principal job, however, is to shift the newsprint, the printing paper that arrives at the plant in huge reels and emerges at the other end sometime later as newspapers. Once the size of the day's paper and the publishing order are determined at head office, the information is punched into the computer and the LGVs are programmed to go about their work. The LGVs collect the appropriate size paper reels and take them where they have to go. When the press needs another reel, its computer alerts the LGV system. The Sydney LGVs move busily around the press room, fulfilling the two key functions to collect reels of newsprint either from the reel stripping stations or from the racked supplies, that is from the aggregated supplies, from the stacked supplies in the newsprint storage area. At the stripping station, the tough wrapping that helps to protect a reel of paper from rough handling is removed. Any damaged paper is peeled off and the reel is then weighed. Paragraph 8. Then one of the four pastor robots moves in. Now, what's the meaning of pastor? Okay, so let's say there is a certain task which is divided into four phases. Okay, phase A, B, C, and D. So each phase is, let's say, assigned to a particular robot. In this case, there being four phases, and so each robot carries, it handles one phase. Okay, now all these robots, they kind of like collaborate together, and their collaborative efforts results in the whole task being executed. Okay, so this is the meaning of pastor robots. Okay, when different things work together to achieve a certain common objective. Then one of the four pastor robots moves in, specifically designed for the job. It trims the paper neatly and prepares a reel for the press. If required, the reel can be loaded directly onto the press. If not needed immediately, an LGV takes it to the storage area. When the press computer calls for a reel, an LGV takes it to the reel loading area of the presses. It lifts the reel into the loading position and places it in the correct spot with complete accuracy. As each reel is used up, the press drops a heavy cardboard core into a waste bin. When the bin is full, another LGV collects it and deposits the cores into a shredder for recycling. Paragraph F. The LGVs move at walking speed. Should anyone step in front of one or get too close, sensors stop the vehicle until the path is clear. The company has chosen a laser guard function system for the vehicles because, as the project development manager says, the beauty of it is that if you want to change the routes, you can work out a new route on your computer and lay it down for them to follow. When LGV's batteries run low, it will take itself offline and go to the nearest battery maintenance point for replacement batteries. And all this is achieved with absolute minimum human input and a much reduced risk of injury to people working in the printing centers. Final paragraph, G. The question newspaper workers must now ask, however, is how long will it be before the robots are writing the newspapers as well as running the printing center, churning out that's taking out the latest edition every morning and distributing the papers to sales outlets? All right, so these are our 7 paragraphs that you're just taking a look at. Now, fellas, it's time for us to go back to the questions. Let's read it one more time again. Choose the correct heading for paragraphs A to B and D to G from the list of headings below. They've already done a sample example for us. Paragraph C. I'll come to that in a while. First of all, very important thing, let us focus on the instructions. Write the correct number 1 to 9. So as you can see, you have a certain number of questions. This is a solved example. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 6 questions, they've mentioned different paragraphs. All right. And you go through that paragraph and you see which heading represents that particular paragraph. Okay, which heading denotes that particular paragraph. It sums up the essence or the gist of that particular paragraph. Okay, and for that, the key is that you read the paragraph not once but twice. You scrutinize that in depth, in detail, and then you go through these headings one by one, and you cross off those headings that you feel are not applicable until you feel you're done with the one that is going to fit in that case. Okay, so but make sure that you focus on the instructions. In this case, the answer has to be expressed in the form of Roman numerals. So for example, I'm just saying, don't know whether it's the right answer, just saying, let's say paragraph A is about the LGV's main function. So you'll put the Roman numeral IV, that is 4, instead of this text, okay? Otherwise, it will be marked incorrect. Once again, it's very imperative for us to focus on the instructions adequately. So we have 10, I beg your pardon, we have 9 headings in total. First heading, robots working together, and then preparing LGVs for takeover, looking ahead, the LGV's main functions, split location for newspaper production, newspaper superseded by technology, getting the newspaper to the printing center, controlling the robots, beware of robots, right? Now, we are gonna see which heading represents which particular paragraph, okay? paragraph. Now, this is where I always, now you see, there are different approaches when it comes to reading. One approach is that, you just do some skimming and scanning, and then you just look at the question, go back, skim and scan again, just like don't really go in depth, just like look at the main elements and stuff, right? I'm not really a fan of the skimming and scanning, the skimming and scanning routine, right? I always believe that just read the text, just read the whole passage properly once, but make sure you read it in depth. You underline what you feel are the keywords, and next to each paragraph, especially in the case of matching headings, please make a short note that kind of encapsulates the whole paragraph, that represents the main essence of that paragraph. And in these cases, especially when you talk about matching headings, it really helps to make a brief summary right next to each paragraph so that you kind of know what their paragraph is actually talking about. Okay, so paragraph A, let's read it. The newspaper production process has come a long way from the old days when the paper was written, blah, 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 and all that. The daily paper is compiled at the editorial headquarters known as a pre-press in the heart of the city, but printed far away in the suburbs. Okay, so from here, what the main gist that I'm getting is that two tasks of the same process are being done fundamentally in two different areas. Okay, oftentimes, the first and the last line of the paragraph itself gives you a very strong hint as to what the whole paragraph is actually talking about. Okay, so if you look over here, split location for newspaper production. I believe the answer for paragraph A will be 5, split location for newspaper production, because once again, as you can see over here, it says the daily paper is compiled at the editorial headquarters known as the pre-press center in the heart of the city, but printed far away in the suburbs at the printing center. So there's a split location. Okay, so that is the answer for paragraph 8. Let's move on to the next paragraph. 28 is paragraph B. Once the finished newspaper has been created for the next morning's edition, all the pages are transmitted electronically from the pre-press center to the printing center. Okay, so basically the pages are being transmitted electronically from the pre-press center to the printing center. Let's see if we can get something from here. There you go. Option number 7, getting the newspaper to the printing center. Okay, it's very important actually to focus on the first and the last line of the paragraph, and more importantly to underline the keywords and make a short summary, because that kind of helps you deduce what the whole meaning of the paragraph is about. So paragraph B will be number 7, getting the newspaper to the printing center. This is the answer that you're going to jot down, this Roman numeral, not this text, because it's asking you to write down the numerals instead of the text. If you write the text, that will be marked incorrect. Okay, so paragraph C, I guess paragraph C has actually been done for us, right? The robots can detect unauthorized personnel and alert security staff immediately if they find an intruder. Okay, so that's basically, about being wary of the robots. So as you can see, an example has been done for us, the heading 9, beware of robots. It does good justice to this paragraph, right? Now, if you look at question 29, that is paragraph D. Okay, so let's look at D once again. The robot's principal job. Okay, once again, I say this over and over again. It's very important for us to know the meanings of these words, right? Principal means main job. Okay, if you don't know the meaning of principal, you might be, in a spot of bother. The robot's principal job, however, is to shift the newsprint that arrives at the plot in huge reels and emerges at the other end sometime in newspapers. Once the size of the day's paper and the publishing order are determined at head office, the information is punched into the computer and the LGVs are programmed to go about their work, blah, blah, blah. So, over here, there you go. If you don't know the meaning of principal, it would be very difficult to deduce the answer. Okay, so principal means main. The LGV's main functions, therefore paragraph D will be represented by the heading number 4. Okay, the LGV's main functions. Paragraph E, let's look at paragraph E now. Then one of the 4 pastor robots moves in, specifically designed for the job. It trims the paper neatly, prepares the reel for the press. If required, the reel can be loaded directly onto the press. If not needed immediately, an LGV takes it to the storage area when the press computer calls for a reel, blah, 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 right? So basically, I told you, right, pastor robots that work together, okay? Or different components that work together to execute a certain task. So over here, as you can see, this is the one. Therefore, it's very important for us to know the meaning of pastor robots, okay? Robots working together. One robot is doing this, the other robot is doing this, and collectively they're executing the entire process. All right, so paragraph E will actually be represented by the Roman numeral 1, that is robots working together. Next time we move to paragraph F. LGVs move at walking speed. Should anyone step in front of one or get too close, sensors stop the vehicle until the path is clear. The company has chosen a laser guide function system for the vehicles because, as the project development manager says, the beauty of it is that if you want to change the routes, you can work out a new route on your computer and lay it down for them to follow. When an LGV's batteries run low, it will take itself offline and go to the nearest battery maintenance point for replacement batteries. Okay, so basically, it's all about controlling the robots, installing adequate safeguards and protocols that can enable these LGVs to work with maximum precision and accuracy while enhancing their shelf life and making sure they don't pose much damage to the human personnel in the factory. So, I guess in this case, controlling the robots, that would be a good description. So paragraph F will be represented by the Roman numeral 8. Okay. Last but not least, paragraph G. Let's look at it. The question newspaper workers must now ask, however, is how long will it be before the robots are writing the newspapers as well as running the printing center, churning out the latest edition every morning, and distributing the papers to sales outlets? So the question that the newspapers workers must now ask, as in, what does the future hold for the newspaper industry as far as these robots are concerned? So basically, it's a speculation. Okay, it's basically called looking ahead. And lo and behold, sorry for that. Lo and behold, if you were to look there and check out the box, you will see an option here that says looking ahead. Therefore, paragraph G will be represented by the Roman numeral 3, that is looking ahead. Okay. It feels a bit daunting initially, okay, but the more practice you get, the better you end up actually getting in these sort of things. Okay, so it's pretty much about just doing loads of practice over and over again. So I really hope this video helped, and in the next one we're going to be talking about MCQs as well as summary completion. So see you fellas then. Thank you very much. Take care.